Warning: the following broadcast features thoughts, ideas, and opinions you might find offensive. If you're easily angered, insulted, hurt, provoked, outraged, or annoyed, the following may offend you. The views expressed in this show are solely those of the individuals providing them and do not reflect the opinions of YouTube or Google. So please, don't flag this video. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh no, that's me. Welcome to Does This Offend You?
Welcome.
Oh, I just realized we don't have headphones in. If let us know, let me know if there's any echo.
Oh yeah.
I always forget. I literally always forget. It could be fine though. Hi guys, welcome Tana, TB, Lara, Alicia. Hi. Welcome to a rare October Does This Offend You? We don't do this every October.
No, we don't. We're not doing 31 Days of Horror, either of us, or whatever the respectable title is on whoever's channel, Sacrifice, Nightmare Fuel. You know, we're not doing a video every single day.
Yeah. We're not doing that, so we're going to do a Does This Offend You this month. If you've not been here before, this is a show where we talk about movies and dissect and reach and talk about potentially controversial or offensive topics in these movies, but we're not usually offended. Just a clever title.
Yeah.
But we will be spoiling everything though. So if you haven't seen Gretel and Hansel or The Love Witch and you want to, and you don't want it spoiled, come back and watch this later. You have been warned. You have been warned. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Cool. Okay. I got to write a note to not wear headphones. I always forget.
I know. I think, now we're both using the same software as well. We should just know that it's the same, but we always ask, I can't remember what I do. We do the same
51
thing.
episodes in. We don't know what we're doing.
Tech's always changing. I don't mind spoilers because I have a memory of a rock. I love that. I love when you watch like a trailer and then you're like, I know I'm going to forget this in 6 months' time when the actual film comes out. So that's like the best thing. Yeah.
Fully me. Yeah, so we're talking about Gretel and Hansel and The Love Witch. Just really quick too, all links are in the description. I always forget to remember to mention that at the beginning. Everyone's links in the description. My links, Emma's links. Follow us. You can stay up to date on when the next episodes are and what movies we're going to be talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a preference for what movie we want to start with.
Yeah.
Or do we want to make the
well,
chat
obviously,
decide?
The theme of this month is witches. If you got that, I'm sure you got. We wanted to do something like a little bit Halloween-y as well. So
yeah.
We thought
and I think we exhausted our offensive Halloween horror movies with our very
for now.
minuscule.
We'll
for now.
By next year, we might have some more. Honestly, if we're gonna be frank, like we wanted to do something where we actually liked them. We were giving we were just doing some really harsh watches for a while, and we just wanted to talk about some themes with some films that we like were rewatches instead of like surprise, because we were doing a lot of surprise ones recently. A lot of
which
first
don't
watches.
always work out in our favor.
Yeah. Although Clowns, the last one we did was Clowns, which we had both seen both of those films, but
that's true. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we don't have an excuse. Whatever.
Oh, you watched The Love Witch for the first time?
Ooh.
I hope you liked it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think. Does anyone want to put eye emojis for The Love Witch first and then just the witch emoji? I don't know what emojis are available in terms of witches.
Candy.
I hate when you can't search the emojis. I'm looking for the eyes. So that would be Love Witch. And what could we do for
Harbinger was a hidden gem.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking about, to be fair. Like blind watchers. I can't find a witch. Oh, there you go. The candy. That's a good one.
Sorry. Greg.
The candy wheel.
Oh, this is live.
What'd you think was happening?
It is live.
Oh, it's definitely live. We're just here to chill with you guys to talk about these films. No shade, no tea.
That took me by surprise.
I think we're getting. Oh god, it's kind of even. Oh no, I've kind of thrown my one in there. What do you reckon? Should we just
1, 2, 3, 1? It's literally tied. Okay, now there's one more for the candy, so that's Gretel and Hansel then.
Okay,
not
let's do that.
Yours.
Yeah, I'm happy with either. We got some strong. Now we got the eye. Some strong themes in these ones too. They're pretty like, yeah. It's a lot to talk about, which I'm excited to get into.
Yeah, we can start about with.
Let's start with Gretel then, hey?
Gretel and Hansel. Sure. Did you want to mention this now or later?
Oh God, whereabouts? I'm trying to find you.
Beginning of your notes.
Oh, there.
I don't know if you want to start with that or talk about that later.
Oh yeah, no, I think so. I think this is a good place. Sometimes when you watch films back to back, you like to do. I mean, you've been here before, Vicky and I love some reaching. Yes. We love to, pretend like everything's linked. And especially when you watch two films back to back, you're always going to find similarities. And I watch these ones back to back, and I just think it's good to keep in mind that both the films are about what is expected of women. And what happens when they break out of those structures, which is really interesting when we talk about like the themes and ideas behind them as we go through them both. They're also both about women living in like a man's world, and lastly, they both have hallucinogenic drugs. So they both have like drug trips in them, which I thought was quite funny because like, how is that? That's just a very strange connection. It's very interesting in the Gretel and Hansel one, how that just like kind of happens, and it's nothing to do with anything really.
I know. It is a little bit random.
Yeah, so they both use kind of the same metaphors, but in very different ways. Very different stylizations, even though they're both extremely stylized films. So I think that's really cool.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, the summary for this one, somebody already mentioned, it is directed by Oz Perkins. Shock, I think you mentioned it. Came out in 2020. It really kind of just it's really just a feature-length adaptation of the story of Hansel and Gretel. Two kids get kicked out by their mom. They walk through the forest. They find a witch's house.
Is that not what happened? Wait, that's not what happens in Hansel and Gretel, though. Isn't the breadcrumbs Hansel and Gretel?
The kids out, right?
No, I don't know. Maybe I know some weird Australian version. But isn't Hansel and Gretel like they live together and like I swear it's the like a stepdad or something. Tell me, guys, you're gonna tell me if I'm crazy. Takes them out to the middle of the forest and is trying to get rid of them, and they leave the breadcrumbs. And Hansel keeps leaving the breadcrumbs every day to where he goes, so he knows to follow them back home. It's literally what leaving the breadcrumbs means, like breadcrumbs in films, finding breadcrumbs. And then keeps doing it like every day, and then like one day like the birds eat it, so they can't find their way back, and then they find I didn't realize they were kicked out. Oh. Is my sitch. I don't know.
I always remember them being kicked out. Maybe I read a different one.
Definitely involved because I swear that's this one. You never heard the breadcrumb thing? Crows eat the breadcrumbs. Yeah. I don't remember how
as soon as you mentioned it, I remember breadcrumbs, but the parents bring them in the forest and then leave them in the forest, and then mentioning the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I swear it's got something weird to do with like a stepdad or something. Like one of them wants, or maybe it's a stepmom because it's always got to be the evil stepmom, I guess. Wants them to get rid of the kids, so keeps trying to lead them out, and Hansel keeps trying to outsmart her by like dropping the breadcrumbs, and then one day they're like animals eat it. Okay. Something to do with that.
I must have read a different
I'm definitely embellishing on some of that, but something to do with that. But I mean, I guess technically both ways they are ejected from the house.
Right, yeah. Either way, the parents are both like,
when people say leaving breadcrumbs, like to a clue, That's like the same thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Everyone's on board the breadcrumbs, so I must have read a different one.
Oh, they were super poor. So they were like bi kids.
Yeah. I mean, well, we'll get into it because we have some
stuff I guess
on
that kind of the mum is just way different in this one. That's why.
Yeah.
Because she's
we
just
have
like openly
some stuff on the OG story too. So you're not. Yeah, in both stories, definitely the parents are trying to get rid of the kids, and there's a reason for that. It's because they're terrible.
Exactly.
But yes, I mean, it's essentially the same story. They come across a witch's house. She gives them shelter. There's tons of food in excess all the time. And Gretel starts to question it. And she finds out that there's something sinister going on with the witch. And she has to kill the witch
every day.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm going back now. This was never meant to happen, but I swear, in the original story, does she not put them in a cage from the start and then she pokes them like every day to see how big they are? Oh my God, it's all coming back to me. She says, put out your finger. Do you remember this? Not pull my finger, but put out your finger. And they wants to see how big they are before she cooks them, the kids. And then so Hansel, because of course the dude has to be a smart one, finds a stick and pokes that out the thing, and so she's by the way, she's blind. Sorry, I didn't
I definitely don't remember that. I don't
remember. This is real. This really happened, guys. he puts the little stick outside the thing, and then she thinks it's his finger, so she won't cook him even though he's getting fatter, so that they okay, never mind. I don't know.
I don't remember. I remember her fattening them up, and I remember that. I don't remember specifics like her being blind or
she's like I don't know. I mean, in this movie, she's kind of like a little bit glazy-eyed, but I wouldn't say I mean, sorry, it's all just coming back to me. I never even thought about like.
No, Megan remembers that though. She said she remembers that. So, although with these old tales and stuff though too, they get readapted and filtered out and things like that. So it's possible we could have like 7 different versions of this that we all know.
Yeah. And of course it's like when you're a kid, they're gonna change the Brothers Grimm like story. So it's not as scary. I probably haven't even read the like original.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. I was getting excited because I was remembering, some
No, it's fine. It's interesting to hear how it gets changed and stuff through different tellings and stuff. That's always fun. That's in the old Grimm's fairy tale. Oh.
I don't know. Well, anyway, sorry. It was just exciting. I was like, wait a minute, I remember the old one now.
That's really just the summary. It's just extended Hansel and Gretel. No, it's basic. And it ends with her killing the witch, just like in the fairy tale.
Yeah. It's like, I think they kill her in the same way as well. Like push her into the fire, trick her, and then push her into the fire. Depending on whatever story. Sorry, I will stop comparing.
No, I remember that. Gretel shoves her into the oven and
okay, cool. It is real. It is real. It did happen, guys. I was there. Okay, where do we want to start with this?
I do have a little bit about the fairy tale if you want me to talk about.
Oh yeah, sorry, go.
No, you're okay. Yeah, since we already started it though, so it's good. I just looked up the original story to see what it was based on. I didn't think it was based in reality, but just wanted to see. Apparently, it's assumed by scholars to be inspired by the Great Famine. Sorry, do you see that?
What, the witch getting cooked into a pie?
No, no. Somebody in our stream. What?
I didn't see it. I can't see it.
Okay, I didn't know if you could see it too.
Are they blocked? Did I block them?
I don't know who Xander is or how they got the link for this.
Wait, Xander's here? Oh, Xander. Wait, what are you talking about? I can't. Oh, in the private chat.
No, like in our actual like StreamYard.
I posted the link on Instagram. I was so confused. Okay, I'm getting it off. Oh my god. I copied it. I was so confused what was happening right now. Xander, get out. I can't believe it's Xander of all people. Xander, can you kick him? Xander, get out. Okay, sorry, for everyone who doesn't understand what's happening right now, I sent out the wrong link. Oh my god, I can't believe it's Xander though, because if you know the lore about Xander, sorry, my dog's up now. No, Gross? Keep going, the other one. Yeah, if you know the lore about Xander, that's so funny. Xander, bye. Love you. I'm so sorry. I sent out, so Vicky sends me a link to join for the stream at the start of, I was like, what do you say? I can't see anything in the comments.
I just didn't know if you could see at the bottom.
I understand what you're saying now. I'm such an idiot. I'm sorry. Okay. I put the wrong link. Emma posted it on Insta. Oh my god. That's so funny. Yeah, that's when I logged in.
Like, oh, sweet. I want to join us.
Oh, there you are. Sandra, I forget your name is Alexander. So Alex is Xander, by the way, in the comments.
Oh.
Thank God it was you, Xander. Because it could have been someone random who I didn't even actually know.
Yeah, that's what I was like. The gasp when I looked.
I can't believe I did that. I just copied the wrong link. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was really funny. No, that was good.
Oh, thank God.
I was just
my celebrity status came in handy. I love that it's you, Xander, of all the people. That is so funny. I can't believe. That's crazy. Okay, where were we before the panic set in? I was so confused. So people who are watching, there's like a comments where you can see like public comments, and then there's a private chat. And Xander just wrote "Sup Queens." And poor Vicky's like, Emma, what's going on? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm not in that. Oh God, that's so funny. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. It's so funny. Sup Queens. Emma posted, she's so scared. I hacked y'all. That's funny.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay.
Yeah, fuck, is Xander infiltrating as well? Sorry.
I didn't even realize the private chat was going off, and that made it so much better. I'm saving that. That was amazing.
Well, I can't see that he's here, so I could not see that Xander was there when you said what's going on.
That's why I was like, I didn't. Huh?
Could you see someone?
No,
like
his camera wasn't on, but it at the bottom, and you can click add to stream. Like I saw them pop in, like they had the link, and I was like, I didn't know if you could see it. That's why I was like,
no, I couldn't. Yeah, that's why I was so confused. Okay, that's so funny.
Okay.
Imagine if we just added Xander to the call. We were just like... This is my first time meeting Nightmare Maven, not like this. I love that.
Yeah, good thing you had your camera turned off. Who knows? Yeah. Just in case. Oh my God. Okay.
Why? Yes, it does offend me. You're so funny.
Okay.
I'm killing it. Okay, back to it. How can you recover from that?
Right. The Great Famine.
My apologies to everyone watching. I def fucked up. Sorry, guys.
What was I saying? Gretel and Hansel and Gretel. Oh my God, this story Hansel and Gretel is supposedly inspired by the Great Famine of 1315 to 1317.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be serious now. Anyway, back to
I have to talk about.
It really is a Halloween episode.
Dying and children dying because of this famine.
Yeah. So the Great.
Anyway, so the Great Famine, guys. That's what I was mentioning earlier, that it was kind of, there was a reason why they kicked the kids out in the story, because apparently that was a thing in the Great Famine.
Oh, when too many kids.
Yeah, too many mouths to feed, so parents were like abandoning their children, and even like the elderly in like communities and stuff were like unaliving themselves for the community.
Sorry, this is not okay. I was just thinking about how we just abandoned Santa and kicked him out like Gretel. You've got no breadcrumbs now, due to Santa. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were about to talk about unaliving. I don't know why it's so funny. Oh my god, I'm crying. Santa's been kicked to the curb. Patting you up, Santa. He's gonna eat you.
I don't want to make this funny. It's only you two can make a famine funny.
They're giggling like witches. Oh my god, what is happening? I feel like there's something weird is going on. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I've got the giggles now.
I don't normally like replay our streams because I don't want to like hear myself talk that much, but I'm definitely replay this one many times.
We need to go and find that clip. Okay, the Great Famine. I don't know how we're going to recover from this.
I know.
Okay, yeah. So they got in the Great Famine, people got kicked out.
This is not good.
I think we've just got like this fucking giggles and we're really setting each other off. I can't even look at you.
Yeah. I know we're gonna cover our cameras. Like, sorry.
We're gonna do the rest of the stream like that.
I can't look. Maybe somebody cast a spell. I don't know how we're gonna recover. I can't stop laughing.
I can't. It's so stupid. What are we even laughing about? Someone, I think Xander literally like hexed us, and not even joking.
We should have let him join the stream, I guess.
I love Xander's gone now. Like, not even in the chat. He just came and just caused the most chaos. Okay.
This is gonna go in the highlight reel that doesn't exist. This is a video.
Okay, I'm pulling it together.
Okay. Deep breaths. Megan says.
I'm crying.
I'm
so sorry. I don't know why it's so funny.
It's because we have the giggles now. We can't stop.
Okay, we need to move on to something else in there.
I don't think I can talk about the famine anymore.
Do we end the point? So yeah, it happened in history. Yep.
Yep.
And you got to the really dark part. Yep. Well, I started laughing.
And that's how we get to witches eating babies. And that's all we need to know about the history of that.
Oh my god, which is actually another funny story, because if you laughed like the stream, what? Oh, if you laughed like the stream, I get it. I was like, what? So actually another funny story, because this is so funny in the doc. So basically I remembered that I had heard this nugget of information somewhere on the internet about why babies eat why witches eat babies. Not the other way around. And I wrote it in the doc and like said like, Vicky, do you know about this? And I just so happened to have tagged Vicky in that same nugget of information. And it was, I don't know, how do you say the actress's last name? I don't know. It's by Kathy.
Oh, Najimy,
yeah, who plays one of the witches in Hocus Pocus. And the most amazing, if you've seen it on TikTok, it's the most amazing interview from the 90s, from the original Hocus Pocus, where she gets, like, this is beyond, like, she is so ahead of her time. she is on like a talk show, like I think it's like a morning show, and she's promoting Hocus Pocus. I'm trying to hold together, guys. She's promoting Hocus Pocus, and she talks about how she was worried about the representation of witches in that that film, and how she doesn't know any witches, but she doesn't want to, you know, skew the wrong narrative, which I think was like the most amazing thing she said in the 90s on a talk show in America. Like, that's so crazy that she would say that.
That is true.
And yeah, because we're coming like off, I mean, like 80s, like Satanic Panic. Like, that's pretty like big of her to say that. Yeah. And she said something around the line, oh, I don't know how to say any of these words. What is this witching hunting manual? You know this stuff.
Oh, I think it's like Malus Maleficarum, something like that.
Des, you're killing me. Thank you for the nightmare. So she was saying that baby, I tried to look this up, but I could not find any information that she was reading, but she was like reading from, I don't know, some kind of like book that it dates all the way back to the Witch Hunting 101 manual, which is what Vicky's written. And it was it was one of the identifiers of a witch that eating babies, and that the abortion, that, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, that in the past, women would go into another woman's house, they'd come out without a baby. So this is how the rumor kind of started about where the baby go. The rumor is, or what people think it is that these women were helping these other women have abortions, and they were taking the baby. So, but you know, obviously things get skewed and twisted, and now they're seen as evil for doing that because of, you know, Christianity. So that's how it kind of gets the narrative of these women being witches and being evil and eating the babies, when really they were helping these women, which I thought was so interesting. I couldn't find any information on that, but I saw that interview and she seemed really well researched for it. So, yeah, thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. And I just added to it. It's like, I couldn't find any specifics either, but it's probably true because women like that were like healers in the village. So people went to them for all sorts of things. So it like genuinely, that's probably true. And they were demonized for it when, you know, the whole profession of like being a doctor and going to school to be a doctor started being big, and they didn't want the people going to them anymore. So they demonized them and called them witches and all this stuff. So that's most likely true. I'm gonna reckon and say it's true.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just really interesting to think about it that way. Yeah, and very, as Megan just said, very fitting for the current times. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it never really went away, did it? That stigma of that and being satanic or whatever because of wanting to have one's like rights over their body. So yeah, super interesting stuff. Where do we start with all the TikTok stuff? Where do you want to go next on this one? Should we just jump into the... Okay, wait, you've got all the good woke stuff. So let's just jump into the actual sexism within the within Gretel and Hansel, because it's really interesting. I mean, from the jump, it's so, like, one of the first shots is Gretel putting on lipstick, and she's going to this guy's house to work for him. And it shows that she experiences sexism, or at least she doesn't even really know. I don't know. You don't really get an inner dialogue, but she knows what she's doing in some regards, but it's like she's so young. It's really interesting because she's kind of at that age where she either has to adapt to society and do all these norm things that have been like passed down, and that is for women in that century fairy tale. Or she can choose to do her own. And this is where the whole interesting thing is. It's like very black and white. Like, you're either conform and you're like a nice fucking wife, or you're a witch. Like, that's literally the two options in this story, which I think is really interesting. And yeah, so she puts on lipstick and she goes to this guy's house. Obviously she's like, what? I don't know how old she's meant to be, like 14 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I assumed like 14, 15. No,
yeah, she's really super young. And when she starts talking to this guy, he says stuff like, you would do well to limit the amount of words that come out of your mouth. He also asks her, I forget the phrasing used, but he asks her like straight up if she's a virgin. It's just really interesting. And it is interesting, the scene of her putting on the lipstick and walking towards the house, because Hansel, I always get their names confused. Hansel keeps bugging her, like, why'd you put on lipstick? Why? And it's like she knows why she's doing it, but she's kind of like on the cusp of like deciding. And then I guess throughout, like, just hinted sexism. I mean, the whole thing is about her point of view, which we'll get to. Some of the Vicky has some roundup of how this was received, but the whole idea of the film is it's meant to be Oz Perkins looking at it from her point of view, and it's like a coming of age for her and her coming into her own power as a woman. And the witch kind of moves this along, because I think the witch sees herself a lot in Gretel as an outcast, as a woman who's not trying to conform, and she hints that if Gretel keeps being like Hansel's like mother figure, like it's not going to be good for her, and he'll end up like hating her and fearing her. And it's just really interesting, all of these things and all of these pressures that are like put on her when she's just trying to look after her brother, but she really becomes like this mother figure to him. It's very weird. And then I thought was really interesting when Gretel, oh, by the way, they find out they're eating babies, parts of kids and stuff, which is like so interesting. I don't really like the special effects in this because it's like so beautiful, like the set design. And when she like puts all the body parts on the table and then she's like, whoosh, and they're like, and they turn into a buffet or whatever the fuck. It just, I don't know, it's just a little bit too much for me because everything else is so beautiful and so like cottagecore, you know. So like cottagecore. I don't know. I love the house in this. If you made that 2-story, like that would be my ideal house. I mean, it'd probably be most people's. It's like absolutely beautiful. The house, the witch house. No, everyone loves it. I thought about the rearranging of the kitchen. It's a little bit of a, but well, yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you were a witch and you had a house, would you really do that to the layout of the kitchen? But anyway, the things I think about. I wish I
a lot of thought into that one.
Yeah, when Gretel finds out that they're eating parts of the children, she like plays along and she says that she must play dumb to outsmart the witch, which I feel like is like a play on the common tactic of like a woman acting dumb, so she's not I guess threatening anyone. And it's like a common, unfortunately it is a common tactic that's used so people underestimate women, or I don't know, if you're a woman, you understand exactly what I'm saying is all I can say. And she also says, the witch also says, I think this is connected. Yeah. She says, say that again and I'll turn your tongue into a flower to remind you how pretty and dumb and temporary you've chosen to be. So again, another say on that, another say of like women not speaking up, all that good stuff. You're either a wife or a witch. You know, there's the two options. Or in my case, both. And I really liked this line. I was trying to find the exact one. I wrote it down, but I don't think it's exact. But at one point, the witch says, like, if not a woman, what are you? A snake, a frog, a pig? Which is to show, like, if she's not a woman, she has to be some, I guess, version of wrong or evil. Just the names they used, I thought that was really interesting. Because if you're not, you know, exactly what society sees you as a woman, you're either, you know, a snake, a frog, a pig. You get it? Yeah.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah.
A nuisance, you know what I mean? So, or evil. So I think that was all really interesting, and I think that they've touched on it in a really, I don't know how to explain it. It's just I think that this film is way deeper than anyone gives it credit for, and the dialogue is so well done. And I love the play on using the witch as she's evil, but there's also like this interesting allure to her where she really brings Gretel out of her shell And I think that's really fascinating, which kind of gets into the ending, because even though Gretel defeats evil as a woman, she feels like she's doomed to become evil. And even from before, I was looking at some of the behind the scenes before she realizes her power or whatever, and starts owning her power, her fingernails start turning black and stuff. So she's like always going to become the witch. Again, she had to be like conforming to society or be a witch. There was no in between. Which is really interesting. And it's also like a metaphor for coming of age, which we've seen in other movies like Ginger Snaps with werewolves, where women, they turn into monsters, when they own their own sexuality or, just independence. And I think it's like a powerful ending because she embraces her independence by saving her brother in the end, by sending him away. Number one, saving him because she's like becoming this monster, but also knowing that he is not her responsibility and he never was meant to be, which is really interesting because it kind of, not that, I don't know, when we link back, we haven't really even spoken about the mother, but the mother like kicks them both out. She's like, you're not my responsibility either. But Gretel does it in a different way.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge theme in the movie is women taking like kind of like refusing like you said, like you have like two options. You're a witch or you're a wife, and they're all the main women in this are rejecting what is expected of them in society, starting with the mother, who is just like, you need to, if you aren't going to go work for this guy and bring us money, then I can't take care of you. You got to go.
Yeah. She tells them to like go dig their own grave or something, go start digging or something like that.
Yeah. And then she's like, dig one for me also, or while you're
Dramatic.
At it. Yeah, kicks them out. And then of course the witch, who has chosen not to take part in society. So she is also doing that. And then Gretel also, who is kind of starts to take on the mother figure. And she's like, I feel like she's kind of accepted that that's going to be her role. She's got to take care of her brother now that they're abandoned. But then through the course of the movie also rejects that option in favor of kind of becoming the witch or her own version of the witch. Because even though like her fingers are turning black at the end and she sees that, she has that like inner dialogue of how she's going to trust herself and that sort of thing. So you kind of get the idea.
And she does kill the witch. So like, she
right. Yeah. So you get the idea she's not going to be exactly like that witch. Maybe it's, commentary on like a, new generation. Maybe she's going to take it and make it not as stigmatized or not as evil or something, but.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because the witch also, she confesses that she like ate her baby.
So, yeah.
So that's also her like getting rid of a child just in a very different way. So yeah, it's just really interesting when you think about that because you're like, yeah, she really was all for herself, which is completely different to what society sees women to be, nurturing and just a caregiver and all that kind of stuff. So and she like completely flipped the script on that ate her baby. So like you can't get much more dark than that.
Well, and it's interesting to see the way that they all do the same thing and how we view it differently, because the mom turns out Gretel and Hansel and casts them away, and the witch, we see in her backstory she eats her children. And I know like taking it literally, cannibalism is bad, but like the symbolism of it is rejecting being a mother, which is what is expected of. I mean, this is something, it's super prevalent now too with the, like as we were mentioning earlier, like, taking away that autonomy almost, like when you have like you're expected to have children and be a mother, and they're demonized for it. Like obviously we see the mother do that and we're like, wow, she's awful. And we see the witch do that, wow, she's awful. And then Gretel does the same thing, but puts a different spin on it, a different light on it, because she still turns Hansel away and she's not going to be his mother and take care of him. But
she's also giving him what she wanted, like independence and what she needed. So she, because he is really dependent on her.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff.
I know. I enjoyed it.
Do you want to get into all the not so the way it was received?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely. I lost brain cells. Looking at,
I remember this when people freaked out about this. So
and a lot of this, I'm gonna read some comments in a second that I took verbatim. I just want to point out that all of the comments, at least the ones that I copied down and all the ones that I were reading, this was before the movie came out. So this was just like the press for the movie.
Yeah.
Nobody had seen it. It was like literally just on posts with like a poster, and you see.
And have you seen like the posters and the trailers? They're so beautiful, and I just don't understand how you could get that from it. But anyway, so fucking weird.
But for, I guess because they had nothing else to talk about after seeing the poster and the title, I think most of you probably will maybe remember the big discussion was about the title when this movie was coming out, because, oh my God, they put Gretel first. So that's all anyone was talking about. And so, of course, everybody, well, not everybody, certain group of people got really mad at that and were already labeling it as like, oh, this is going to be like woke garbage because Gretel is first in the title. I don't know. I know we like to reach, but that's like another level of reaching. So some juicy comments on advertising for the movie. Again, this is before anybody has even seen the movie. These are all direct quotes. Should be called Hansel and Gretel, but of course some female got all ass hurt.
Even Gretel, though it's like Oz Perkins, but sure.
What?
It's like by Oz Perkins, but sure.
Oh yeah.
Which is so funny.
Somebody said Gretel and Hansel is why I won't be watching Gretel and Hansel. Somebody wrote Hansel and Gretel, no more PC BS.
How is it PC to flip a name? That's so crazy to me.
And we have to be PC and call it Gretel and Hansel so as to appease the lunatics. Again, yeah, why is it PC? I don't know. Somebody else wrote, and the reason for the title change? Fuck off.
The thing is, there is a reason. It's meant to be through her perspective. Right. And also, it just makes me think, like, how many of, like, these, like, Marvel movies and stuff where they always have spin-offs about different characters. And no one gets mad. How could you do you know what I mean? Like, the whole point is to, like, flip something and, explore a different side of it. I just don't even understand how that could be offensive in any shape or form. It's the worst. Alex, I think it does, because the witch and Gretel probably talk about her independence and her. I think they do. I think they probably have a conversation. I do think, there might be a lot about Hansel, but I think there would be, hopefully, one conversation between them.
They have at least two conversations, at least that I remember, that are talking about her powers and her like gift or whatever. Like when she first gives her the gift with like the drink or whatever, and then later on. So there's at least two that I can remember just from watching it this past year. It definitely passes the.
Oh, that's good.
The Bechdel test.
Awesome. Sure. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to do something that I've never done before. I'm gonna have to take a really quick bathroom break because I'm dying. And I was like, I can get through it, but I want to get through it. I'll just be 2 seconds. I'm so sorry. Xander,
you're good. You're good.
I'll be 2 seconds.
She'll be 2 seconds. I should have been nice and took her off of the screen. I should have been nice and took her off the screen. Oh goodness. The alternative name was Gretel and screw that other guy. Stall. No, her mic is in the frame. You can see it. Let Xander join. Imagine if she came back and oh my God. That would have been amazing.
I tripped on the cord. Okay, I'm back. Oh my God, just hit my head.
They said let Xander join for a few minutes. I was like, imagine if he comes back and
No, I know I'd be quick. I was like, do I want to? I think it's the laughing like really got me. It started hurting my bladder.
Oh, that's too funny.
Okay, I'm back. She blaming you to having to. Yes, I did blame you for that. Even though it was my own fault. Oh my god, spooky Santa note. I love that.
Like, it's too funny. She comes back. I'm like, okay, you've been replaced.
Yeah. I mean, what more can you like? It's just crazy. I mean, every single film that comes out, there's something that people are. It's just insane that are offended by it, But I guess those people probably shouldn't be watching this film anyway if they really care about
and even the
representation.
people that did watch it, some of the reviews I saw, like they clearly don't get it. I have another quote from this is from an actual movie review. So apparently somebody watched it, I think. It remains to be seen. But they wrote, the Brothers Grimm should really be outraged that their simple story about child abuse, malnutrition, cannibalism, and witchcraft, this movie is still about all those things, has been so twisted. Rob Hayes' script centers on Gretel, hence the title's name swap. At least they get that. And turns her into a woke, coming-of-age superheroine who outsmarts a witch. She also does that in the original story. Why this dusty 19th century ditty needed to be refashioned this way is unclear. Which the weird thing is, like, all of the like original elements in the story are still there. You just added another layer to the story.
It was being like sarcastic at the start when it was saying that they should be outraged at their simple story about child abuse, but when they keep going on, then you're like, what do they actually think?
And the rest of the and I read the whole article. It wasn't super long. They rated it like super low. It was like 1 star or a half star or something. So they didn't like it. So this was unfortunately not sarcasm.
How could that not be sarcasm, saying the Brothers Grimm should really be outraged at their simple story about child abuse has been twisted? What do you mean? There's simple story. There is no simple story about child abuse, just so everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But like, what the fuck?
I know.
So weird.
But like, I have the things that's all still in there. He didn't take
the Brothers
anything
Grimm
out of the story. He just added to it.
Yeah. I like, as much as I know about the Brothers Grimm, I would think that they would be like, this would be up their alley completely. Like, exploring all of these themes. It's so crazy. Yeah, exactly. Megan says the same thing. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. So, Vicky, does this film, I mean, did we get to all of it? Yeah, I think so. Was there anything else?
No, I think we covered everything.
I think we did it. Were you offended by this one, Vicky?
No. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. Does it offend you?
No. I love this movie, and I think that the dialogue and just picking out like the different things that they say, like the witch says during it, is so interesting. And I really think you can just rewatch this film so many times and get something different out every time, or understand a theme better. I do wish that there was like a couple of different things in terms of the special effects and all that, but I think this film was underrated, to be fair. What was that one? The people were offended by the title.
The people that are offended by the title of it.
Very true. I don't think it was out in theaters, Xander. I think it went straight to streaming because of it was out during the pandemic. Or was it out for a couple of weeks? It wasn't out here.
I think I saw it in theaters because this is America and we didn't shut everything down till like late spring, early summer. So
it was 2020, right?
Yeah, it was like I think Google said January 2020.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, January was early. Maybe it wasn't out okay, maybe it didn't come to theaters here at all then.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't until February, like March, I guess, that everything started shutting down.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was out here. I remember I did a come chill with me for it, so.
Yeah, I think it was one of the last ones I saw in theater before. Yeah. Yeah. But I remember. Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
That's awesome.
Hey, Ben. It was really nice.
So Pen's like, I saw it.
Yeah, I'm not crazy. I didn't see it in theaters. Okay. I don't think, except for getting offended over the people, but getting offended over the title. I think everybody else is not offended either.
No, I don't think so.
All right. The Love Witch.
The Love Witch. God, this is a flip. Because that other one is like all about the independence and the subtleties, which is kind of, this is the same, but that one's like more like subtle, and this one is just like over the top, where it's like sometimes I'm like, what are they trying to? Because the wrong person gets this film in their hands. You know what I mean? Because it can be misconstrued. I feel like.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, there's a lot of insane stuff that is just like put in this, and they don't touch on it all. Or they don't really go into detail or well explain. I feel like. What are you saying? Was anyone offended over the representation of the group? Stop! TV.
That was a great comment.
Yeah, that was a great comment. I'm going to screenshot that. That was funny.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg, for your nightmare fuel.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh yeah, I did see that before. Well, Greg, do you want to DM that to me on the Discord? I believe you're my Greg. I think that's who you are.
I think we did do Raw, but we haven't done Titan.
Yeah, we definitely, Oh, I would love to do Titan.
Yeah.
Titan. Sorry. Titan.
Titan.
So yeah, please send me that, DM me that, we'll get back to it at the after show. Thank you, Greg.
Yes. This is spoilers.
Yeah. Oh wow, Sandy, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Want to make sure I did you pass that one up? Yes, spoilers.
Okay, yeah, spoiler alert.
Big spoiler alert. Okay, so I guess if anybody here doesn't know, you're gonna hang out for the spoilers. The Love Witch, really quick, is about a witch, Elaine. She's super determined to find love, to find a man after the death of her husband. So she moves into this like really gorgeous Gothic Victorian apartment, and she uses spells and potions and all this stuff to pick up men and seduce them. However, her spells are like way too strong. They work too well, and she ends up with a body count, but like in the dead way. And she finally meets the man of her dreams, a detective who pretty much figures her out, and her shenanigans unravel, and she kind of descends into madness in the end. And that's pretty much what happens, all in 2 hours, though. It's a little bit of a long movie.
Yeah, it's a very weird journey there too, because I would say it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much, but really interesting, the detective one, because I'm like, yeah, I don't know what the man of her dreams is, to be honest. But I think the whole point is that she was fed a fantasy, and that's what she says when she meets I forget her name, the woman at the start. Elaine has no idea what she wants. Like, she is like she's so fucked up. The whole movie is about how fucked up she really is.
Yeah, and she's very traumatized.
Yeah, but she doesn't even know what she wants, because, you know, a guy shows emotion. She literally calls him, we'll get into it, but calls him a pussy. And then the detective, who she like loves, he like, it shows his inner dialogue, and he's like over it. It's like she only wants him because he doesn't. Yeah, it's like this whole thing. So there's a lot going on. It's just so funny, because everyone you want to love Elaine, because she's so aesthetically pleasing, beautiful. She's got all the costumes, she's got the attitude, but she is the problem. You know what I mean? So she is the issue.
She is, but I do love Elaine.
I'm trying not to sing Taylor Swift. Anyone? Yep. Okay. Cool.
Oh, is that a Taylor Swift reference now?
Yeah, it's like her new. Sorry, I had to turn everything into Taylor.
Yeah, it's fine. I just didn't know.
It's her like lead single, anti-hero from Taylor Swift.
No, I'm saying like the name. Is that what is
No, it's called Anti-Hero. But it's like the main lyrics is like, it's me, hi, I'm the problem. So
got it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry, guys. I love everyone who gets it in the comments. I'm sorry. I got like, it's just going around in my head all the time. Okay.
Where do we want to start?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Where should we start? There's a lot going on in this one. I swear this document is so long. I'm like scrolling through 200 pages trying to figure out.
Seriously? Oops, I didn't mean highlight.
God, it's just so heavy. Did you want to start somewhere?
Yeah, I can start with mine because mine was. You can tell I really love Elaine.
Oh wow, here we go.
Yeah, so I guess since we were talking about her anyway, like how the fact that she is the problem, and she is the problem, but it's interesting because she embodies what it's really weird. It's like through so many filters. So she's personifying what she thinks is expected of her in like via like patriarchal views. So I think she kind of talks about it, and I was seeing if I wrote down a quote. She kind of talks about it in her discussion with Trish when they're in that tea room, but basically like what she thinks men want is just like, you know, kind of like the good wife, like quiet, demure, pretty, give in to all of his desires and take care of him. Yeah. Fantasies, and that's the word she.
Yeah, I think I have some of that quoted, but yeah.
Yeah, I think too.
The giving men what they want, giving men sex as a way of unlocking their love potential, and then what's her name?
Trish.
Trish says, you sound like you've been brainwashed by the patriarchy. Your whole self-worth is wrapped up in pleasing a man. I'll admit it. I use sex to get this, which I think is her ring that she's talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm not proud of it. A whole world doesn't revolve around a man's needs. If I gave Richard sex every time he wanted, Richard is her husband, I'd be a wreck. And then Elaine's going, poor Richard, he loves you. This is how she says it. He loves you, and he wants you, and you just torture him. You have to give a man his fantasy. So yeah, that's like an example of that whole back and forth.
But that's like her whole thing. She has been brainwashed by the patriarchy, and we see throughout the movie we get little bits of her, like things that have happened to her. Like there's a scene that she's applying like some witchy lotion or something, and we're hearing voiceovers from her past, like her father who criticized her for being too fat, not being pretty enough, all this stuff. Her husband who also was emotionally abusive to her. And then the one we see the most is her coven leader, who definitely sexually assaulted her. Like coven initiation. And you can see she's been fed all this stuff by her coven, because they have a couple of conversations, and you see when he talks, you can tell like that's where this stuff is coming from, like all this stuff that's in her head. And so she's clearly been fucked up from her past trauma, and then killing her husband, which they make it pretty obvious she's the one who kills her husband, but she's so like insane and delusional that she doesn't even think she's killed her husband, you know? And then she gets into this coven where they feed her all of this information on like how to get men to love you and all this thing, and like your worth is your sexuality. And so they creates this monster that is Elaine.
Yeah,
I feel like her character's so brilliant.
Yeah, and it's because she came into it for the wrong reasons. It's like that whole thing of like, I don't know too much about witchcraft, but like the whole idea about using it for the wrong thing, which is, I only hear from the craft, but basically, when you use it for the wrong reasons, and that's exactly what she's doing. It's like literally introducing a woman who has daddy issues to witchcraft. So it's like, of course everything's gonna go wrong. And I think that can be misconstrued, like what's going on. And a lot of people, because she's so aesthetically pleasing, they're like, yeah, girl, get it. Get your independence. Kill that man. And you're like, she's so fucked up, guys. Like,
she is fucked up. It's more of like, I feel like I see her as, I think I did have a quote from the director, writer, editor, the everything of this movie, Anna Biller. But I think she mentions it. She's talking about, like what men demand of women, like the social irony of it. And she says, quote, what if you took that literally, like Elaine does? What if you really became that thing that men want you to be? You'd be a Frankenstein monster, which is how I see her. Like she's a monster, but so it's like she, and she's done maybe some bad things, some harmful things, and she's killed people like Frankenstein's
maybe
monster,
some
but you
harmful
still have
things,
a little
yes,
bit
maybe.
of you still have some sympathy for her, like the monster. Because
you want it to work out for her, but it's like, so funny. Like
she's
maybe
not
she's
a good character, but you feel bad for her.
Maybe some bad things, maybe some dead bodies, maybe, but she's trying.
She's trying.
I read somewhere that the writer director got the idea as well from like self-help books, which is like applying things like what you're just saying and applying that straight directly to your life, and how that makes no sense with the nuances of human social interactions, relationships, to apply things straight from a page.
It's literally like she read an article in Cosmo about like how to choose a man, and she took it literally. Like that's like what she is embodying. And I just like the way it is shown in the witchcraft. I guess we can get into some of the witchiness, because we see a few like spell things that she does. Like she makes a witch jar, and she has like little like poppets and dolls and things. Like so she's clearly like actually doing a love spell, but we never like really see her do a lot of those things. The most that we see her do is, she makes her soaps and her trinkets and things like that. But her like real spell work seems to be like in her like kind of creating a glamour, I guess, which is like a magical term of like changing your appearance or changing something forward.
Do they not use that term for vampires, to glamour? Isn't that what that is?
Term, you used in that too, like to again like kind of hypnotize people at all. Kind of back to the same thing. But like her makeup, like the way like she's so put together, her makeup, her hair, her clothes, even, like she has that whole scene where she's like hypnotizing the guy with the rainbow in her jacket and everything like that. It's like literally all stuff that like magazines would tell you to do anyway, though, right? Like your makeup, do your hair, dress nicely to catch a guy, but it's like all thrown under this like witchy, like occult 70s lens, which just makes it look really cool. But it's all like practical things, which I like. Also.
Yeah, I totally agree. What do we
I know you're a little more critical, so you can get into it.
Like the thing is, I do love this film. I think I gave it like 4, but it's just so interesting seeing it from like okay, where do I even start? I guess the sex magic is like really interesting because I love like you hear the term all the time, but it is actually this movie, if it wasn't called The Love Witch, it should be called Sex Magic, because it literally puts the two things about her sexuality and magic, combine them, which is like the whole idea of her. She's like this metaphor for being a witch, what with, what she's actually going through. So obviously the whole point of the film is to discuss ideas around sexualizing women, and some of the situations I find are very heavy-handed, which is the point, which is the stylization of the film, obviously. And so Anna Biller said that she chose a witch as a protagonist because they are such a powerful historical trope in terms of women's sexuality that's been handed through millennia. She said that she bases the story on her own life experiences as a female, and then looks for characters and settings that are cinematic, where she can use symbols and imagery to tell the story. And the witch is a perfect iconic figure for this, to discuss all of those issues. So I guess it's kind of exactly what we're talking about with Gretel, where it's a good example of you're either, going with the grain, or you're going completely against and you become a witch. But in this one, they're kind of using, as you said, what is the guy's name who like is the head of the coven or whatever? It's kind of like,
I don't know. I'll type it in the chat. I can't remember how they pronounce it, but it's like spelled like that.
It's almost like he's like profiting or like grooming women under the guise of this being, which is completely opposite, where like to Gretel and Hansel, because he's using something that women are deemed, I guess, evil for, to his own, I guess, to try and show that he's empowering them. But it's like, it's a really interesting concept.
That's like feeding the patriarchy is what it's doing.
Yeah. Where it is meant to be like the witch is a metaphor for something women are hunted and prosecuted for, which is, you know, being sexual and owning your own sexuality. Mm-hmm. And that's why it gets like very interesting how you think about this film, because you're 100% right, where it is like she's totally messed up by like this self-help and all of these ideas of how she's meant to be and how she's meant to attract a man. But then this metaphor for a witch, where she's using like evil to try and do the thing that is meant to be stereotypical. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like where she's using the thing that's meant to be a stereotype for women. It's almost like she's under the spell while everyone else, like her friend Trish, isn't. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll do whatever I want. So it's kind of like the opposite, where you think the person who's a witch would be the more free person, but she's kind of like trapped because she's like so traumatized, which I think is really interesting. The whole film is about internalized misogyny for her as well, which is really interesting because we see this a lot from, or maybe we do see it from both sides, but we see this a lot, I guess, maybe not more for men, I would think. But it's really interesting at seeing that from a woman's perspective, because usually in films, especially horror films, we see a lot of, you know, like, the unfortunate, like, you know, rape horror, where we see, you know, really sexist things happen and it's black and white. And in this one, it's really interesting to see her be the problem, but also see some of her language and some of the things she uses. And that's what I think is really interesting when she puts a spell on that guy, and then he starts crying and she says, what a pussy, what a baby, he's just like a little girl, which I think is so interesting coming from her in this situation, because it shows how kind of brainwashed she is. And just like demonstrates that. I thought that was a really good, really interesting line, because it really throws you, because it's like, it seems like she just wants this love and she wants it so bad, but she doesn't. She's also programmed in the way that she doesn't want just any man. She wants this stereotypical man. So she herself is like sexist towards what she wants and what she thinks is ideal, which is, again, so weird for a witch, because a witch, you know, you think is more free and open to things that don't fit in, like, you know, concepts of like what a couple should be.
It's really interesting to see, because it's really critical. Like, we rarely see, I feel like, characters like you mentioned, like, represent this internalized misogyny in such a blatant way like this. But like seeing, it's very much, it's what is reality, which is white, like a good portion of white women in the world using their power, like their white privilege, to uphold the patriarchy, which is kind of like what she's doing. She's a witch, 100%. So she's powerful. This is like this powerful thing, but she's using her power to uphold the patriarchy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she's doing damage.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny, because I was just thinking like she's doing God's work, but like little, you know, in the term of like literal Christianity, God's work, it still applies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's still the rib of Adam in this situation, so you can use that. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. That's like a great way of putting it. And I guess that's trying to like what I'm trying to explore, because that's the thing. It's just so interesting, because as much as I want to be sympathetic to her and like all of the stuff she's gone through, I like, maybe it's like personal development for me, but like just owning those issues yourself, and like she is killing people, but like I don't know, she just seems like everywhere she goes, she has like such a warped perception. And I really don't like how she talks to Trish as well, Trish, about that. When she seems very comfortable. I mean, Trisha fucking ends up losing it, but you know, that's nor here nor there. When she's putting on the wig, oh my God. But that's like the interesting thing about it, because she's like wanting to become her in a way where she is flirting with this idea of being this kind of like sex symbol, even though she's chosen not to do that. So it's exactly what you're saying about, like, you know, white women still wanting to have their cake and eat it too, I guess.
Right.
In a sense.
Exactly.
The other huge thing, which we've touched on during this whole thing, is like the mental health issues. So because there's so much going on with all of these different messages and themes with sexism and the patriarchy. I feel like it's really strange the way they dip their toe into mental health, but then dip it right out, where it's not saying anything clear cut, which is totally fine. But I do think some of the the conversations, it actually aged really well. I know this is only like a couple years old, but right now with how everyone is so like happy to throw around like, you know, narcissistic and all those kind of like terms as like buzzwords now, this is really like Gen Z almost, like the dialogue for some of it, which is really interesting because you wouldn't think a film like this would kind of like age into that, which I just think it's so funny. Also, the film is like meant to look like it's in the 70s, but they have like cell phones, so it's like it's really funny in that regard. It's kind of like timeless in a way. Or like in its own realm, because everything is so aesthetically pleasing. Like when they go to the Victorian tea room, it's just for women and they're all dressed in pink. It's so funny. So yeah, the mental health aspect is touched on repeatedly. And I do feel like it's like very like flippant thoughts and remarks thrown around. In the conversation, Elaine has a conversation when she's driving in the car at the very start, like it's like a narration, but she's having like a thought to herself. She's talking about like intrusive thoughts, and just like throwing out that quote was really interesting because you know from the start that she is like a little bit unhinged, which I appreciated that they kind of like threw that in to give you a hint of what's to come. When I wrote she has her horny her horny scene, I think I was right, horny solo scene on the bed where she's as you said, she's doing their potions and stuff and she's like really feeling herself, literally. But she's imagining people talking about her and talking about her body, and what you touched on before about what we assume is her dad's voice saying like, you're like, I don't know what he says, but he says something about her weight. And then also then she hears someone else's voice, or maybe it's the same voice, say a positive remark about her body, saying, oh my God, you've lost so much weight. And she's like kind of getting off to that, which is really interesting. And she's really like fixated on the idea of like men talking about her body, which it just screams daddy issues. And it just is so messed up and it's so interesting. But we don't really get a hint of her childhood, but I think that's all you really need to understand like her perspective from that, what she's coming where she's coming from. Elaine uses love spells to hurt other people mentally, like driving Wayne insane and Richard to unalive himself. So, you know, there is a lot of mental health issues. Even and she directly, you know, usually you can't say someone directly causes them, but she directly did cause them by these love spells. And then, of course, the conversation towards the end where the cop and her are like falling in love. And I thought that was a really funny scene where they're like sitting on the bed and they're arguing about something, I think. And he says, what you call love is a borderline personality disorder. And she says, don't diagnose me. You're a narcissistic, which I think is like really funny. Because I just feel like they're throwing around these terms a lot. And usually it wouldn't age well, but it's kind of like aged into how people talk so openly about mental health these days, which I thought was interesting, where everything else seems really harsh and like flippant. That's exactly how people talk now. So yeah, super interesting.
Ahead of its time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like timeless, really. It's like a new classic that's completely timeless. The other thing we have to talk about is the sexual assault. Do you have anything else before that's like pretty heavy stuff? Have you done all your? I'm trying to find.
No, I got all mine.
Okay, cool. Let's get into the good stuff. This is so insane because I mean we've already spoken about her mental health and them discussing that, but the sexual assault, and which we've kind of touched on, it's just so interesting. They're so flippant with some remarks, but then they show things and they don't, I don't know. It's just really vague and almost like a hint at something.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm glad they do because I don't want it to go into it, but it's just so interesting that they're so not afraid of showing how unhinged she is in some regards, but then they won't show these actions of men in any regard. And they show her naked a lot in the film. And maybe it's because it is written by a woman that they only want to show that in a positive way and not a negative way.
Right.
It's just really interesting because in horror movies, usually it's the other way around. Or I mean, you probably shouldn't say that because usually, in 2000s horror, it's like someone just having a shower. Sorry, but usually when it's used for a plot point. And she's naked in it a lot. So it's hinted at a couple of times during the film. I think the guy's name's Gahan, the coven man.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I can't remember how they say it in the movie, but yeah, it's right in there.
At one point, like when you first kind of see him, he comes up to her. They know each other already, and he like puts his hand on her shoulder and she like recoils, and then you know, obviously it's very subtle, but you know something's going on there. And then later when you see a flashback to the initiation, kind of however she got into the coven, you see him get on top of her, and then it kind of cuts to black, which is what we were talking, Vicky mentioned earlier, that it's very obvious that he sexually assaulted her. And whether that again used as a guise to be like, you need to do this to come into our coven and be a free sexual being, like there's a lot to explore in that regard that's not even touched on. It's all about her and what she's doing, but you really don't even get to look at the traumas that created that. So it's really interesting. They really give like the men in the film like a huge break in that regard. And then it's insane because like this next one is like actually grosses me out so bad. They go to the bar and they're having a fight, and all of a sudden all of the townspeople are there and they're all doing the stereotypical burn the witch, burn the witch. She falls on the floor. It's when she's like in love with the cop guy and he's like beating someone else up, and you see this scene of her on the floor and all of these men undoing their belt buckles, and it's so, you're like, is this about to happen? And you just see it in like one wide shot. And then it just cuts to them outside the bar running away. So you don't, it infers that it doesn't actually happen and they get away, but it's such a weird moment because they're literally screaming, burn the witch, and then they deciding that they're going to like maybe gang, and so it's just bizarre because again, I guess that's the point of the film, is that it's all about her issues and her not being able to actually see the forest from the trees and see why she is the way she is and work on that. Instead, it's just all of her intrusive thoughts and her going around in her mind instead of actually observing the world around her. So it's just so brutal. Yeah,
it is. For a movie that's like, it looks so aesthetically pleasing, like you almost don't expect it to be as dark as it is, and then moments like that happen that just kind of like and
they just breathe through them. And I think that's like kind of the point now we're talking about it. It makes perfect sense because you are seeing it through her lens, and she's not able to understand what's really happening to her. She's just trying to survive. It's like survival mode for her. That she doesn't even comprehend these things that are like insane, traumatizing that are happening to her. She just keeps going with her like narrative in her head, and that's why you're seeing it so beautiful and aesthetic, because her world is like literally seen through like rose-colored glasses.
Exactly. Like literally exactly.
Wild. So very different to Gretel and Hansel in that regard, where that's like all grim and dark and she's like alone in the world, and because I feel like Gretel in the situation is a lot more realistic than Elaine ever will be.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So heavy.
Oh, sorry, it was just okay. It was about a horror manga. I thought it was something about the movie. Did we get everything?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It took me a while, but I got there.
So did The Love Witch offend you?
No, not at all. I love this movie. I think it's great. I just think that it's not an easy watch though. You think, oh, cute, like so beautiful. It's like so intense when you think about it. But I guess you can choose to just kind of watch it on a surface level and make it like a nice, like easy, like 70s kind of almost giallo-ish, journey.
Yeah.
Or you can really look into all of those moments. It's a lot.
I really enjoyed this movie too.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, did you find it offensive?
No.
I didn't think so.
No. I love this movie. 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's great. All right. We didn't have any polls this week, did we?
No, I think we both forgot.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of the polls. We're trying to find if you guys have like an interactive game or anything you want to suggest to do at the end of our streams, let us know. But we're still looking for something. I just felt like the polls got a little bit tired. We're posing the same question, and sometimes it's comparing apples and oranges, so it's not really easy to ask which one is more offensive, especially because 99% of the time we don't find any of them offensive, and you guys don't either. So
right, exactly. And so any suggestions, just shoot us a DM or something. And
yeah. But thanks so much, everyone. What a wild time it was. I really enjoyed hanging out with you all. It was up and down and all around.
It was a ride.
It was.
I say this every time, but definitely one of my favorite episodes.
Oh my god, that was wild.
I'm absolutely gonna go back and rewatch that.
I'll be so much more careful about my dropping those links.
Such a fun live stream to hack into.
Yeah, it was nice to have you.
I appreciate that. Once again, links for everything in the description, so you can see when the next Does This Offend You is going to be and what movies. And maybe, if you just happen to luck out, one of us will accidentally share the link and you can hop in the live stream.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully never again.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out and participating. We really appreciate it. And for the nightmare fuel, in memory of the Great Famine, which we totally did not represent by laughing through it. Apologies.
Nathan, you missed it all. Nathan said, "What did I miss?" You missed.
Just go back to the beginning of the stream. You'll get the highlight.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys. 20 minutes in. Yeah. We'll see you guys next month. It'll be on Emma's channel. And if you're a patron of either of us, you'll get a sneak peek on what the movies are ahead of time, because we're going to discuss that in just a moment for patrons only. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye. I'm like looking for